Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, dear participant, during the courses of STEM, you learned about the role of alternative energy sources for preserving the environment and reducing global warming. So, second slide. Let's remember the materials of STEM courses. What clean energy sources have been developed by scientists? Let's remind some of them. For the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
As you remember from these courses, the power source can be divided into main parts, traditional sources and alternative sources. Okay, who reminds some traditional sources of power?
Dear participants, let's
Heat
participate.
power plant,
Mhm.
nuclear power, hydropower station.
And also some
Mhm.
sources like coal, gas, and oil. It's like traditional sources.
Mhm.
Mhm. And how about alternative sources?
It's solar energy, wind energy, biomass. No.
Biomass, yeah.
Biomass.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Solar
Uh,
batteries.
yeah, like
Mhm.
solar batteries, some eco-friendly. Geothermal,
Geothermal. Mhm.
energy of
Energy
sea
of
stream.
ocean. Mhm. Energy of ocean.
Yeah, and
So, what
hydrogen.
is the sources of alternative energy? Main sources.
Wind,
Nature.
wind,
Mm-hmm.
sun,
Sun
water,
and
and land.
land. For me,
Mm-hmm.
land is like surprising a bit, but you will explain, right?
Do you remember
So,
biomass? Biomass.
Yes,
it's
combustion.
dependent on the difference of temperature of land. So, for example, if you take the temperature of cover of lead, it's a maybe hotter or sometimes colder than the temperature of the 1 meter down or else. So between this temperature, we can produce some energy. So this research
Mhm.
is conducted in our university, and they produce some primary equipment to produce electricity energy
Mhm.
from land.
Mhm.
Okay, how do you think what alternative energy sources can be used in the Karaganda region? Justify your answer.
Mhm.
So I
So
know,
We
before
definitely
we
have
speak,
so much wind, so I believe we should use this wind somehow.
I know that
wind energy. Okay.
sun is used not far from Karaganda. There is a solar station with solar cells,
Uh-huh.
you see. And as for wind, in Karaganda, I do not know. I know that there is some biofuel at in some villages where there are special plants where they grow pigs, you see, or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes.
and not only pigs,
Mm-hmm.
but chicken also, right? So,
Biofuel,
Maybe
yes. So,
maybe
uh-huh.
not so much we can use water because our country is inland country without too much coasts.
mhm.
Therefore, we cannot widely use tidal wave or tides as many countries surrounded by water usually we use,
Mhm. Yes,
except
I
for
agree.
water maybe.
I agree. But as for sun, I think it's possible. And as for wind, especially, yes, because we have
Yeah,
lots of wind, especially here in our region. So I think it's possible, yes.
because the Karagan is very windy.
Yeah, because we are located in steppe. So,
But as I
Okay.
know, the wind,
Dear
the
participant.
wind.
Okay, okay.
Mhm. As I know, to build wind farms, we must have constantly windy day. It must be windy always around the year.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I
some
think
problem
it's a
with,
problem.
and some problem with the sunshine because in the winter period it's not every day the sun shines is enough for produce a lot of energy. So, but in Karaganda region, there are four types of sources of energy. So, for example, sun energy, wind station, water station. So, for example, in top part, there are a big water energy stations. And the last 10 years in country, some farmers use a biofuel to produce biogas and produce some hot and electricity energy. Okay, next slide.
mhm,
Today we will speak about wind and sunshine energy. So, for example, this is the map of Karaganda region. And near the Karaganda city, it's about 11 kilometers. Near the Saran city, there are the first solar stations. And near the Aktagai settlements is working the second station. And I forgot to note the map 45 kilometers from Balkar city. It produced the third station, the settlement Golshat solar station.
mhm,
And right now, in this yes, is planning to produce two new stations. One station for solar station near the Balhar city, and the second station at about 15 kilometers. It's a station of wind stations for produce of energy.
mhm.
So next slide. Okay. How do you think? In which points of our region should wind and solar power stations still be built, and why? Except, except the on map.
Except map. Okay, let's remind what was in the map. Saran,
Mhm.
Aktagay, and Balkhash. We are speaking about Karaganda region, yes?
Yes, about Karaganda region.
In
How do you think?
Karaganda
Where
itself,
can the scientists produce and build a new station?
in Karaganda
Solar.
itself, I think. What do you
Maybe
How
in
think,
do
the
guys?
south of Karaganda region, it is possible to build sun energy station, solar station.
Here I
Mm-hmm.
live in Kogi and we have lots of sun. And even if, for example, in downtown it rains and it pours, here in Kungi we hardly ever have like some drops. So I think it's an ideal place, for example, for wind station and for solar station.
I think Jeskasgan is a very good place
Yes.
for building uh, solar solar
Mm-hmm.
stations because I think there is more sun in Jeskasgan than in Karaganda, and that is why I think solar and wind. It's a windy place as far as I know, so it's a good place, convenient for building such
But
stations.
Karaganda is also good. I think the more such places, the better. Timirtau, what do you think about Timirtau, guys?
Mm,
Oh, Timirtau. I think Nickel
Temirtau is
steel
windy
is
too.
enough for Timirtau.
But
Yeah.
it's for your
Our
resources.
plant is enough for us, yes.
How do you think about Karkaral region?
Yes, Karkarolinsk maybe. But in Karkarolinsk, there is not so much sun, yes, as far as I know, because there are like,
The
no,
much windy.
but it's
The
windy,
much
yes.
windy.
And what about Tapar?
I don't know.
What do you think, guys, about Tapar?
Water. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was like
Water
water.
power.
Yes.
Like, not the wind, but what will be like
Mm-hmm.
suitable.
Solar power
Mm-hmm.
station.
Okay. Yeah. So, to summing up, like we mentioned Karaganda, especially like our region closer to like these mountains, not mountains, but hills, Sarerka, right? Like next to Kungay, Jeskazgan, Tapar,
Just
what else?
Kazgan.
Karkarolinsk.
We can build solar and wind station. It's very important for Jeskazgan because it's very waste regions and they have some deficit of energy power. That's why, and I think they built a much wind station in Karkarali region because not so much solar sunshine in Karagally, that's more windy, and they will produce own energy because the electricity, the energy, it's much too expensive in Karkarali than in Karaganda, for example.
Okay,
Mm,
clear.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's look on this slide and speak about advantages and disadvantages of wind power station. Okay, who speak
I know
about
one.
Mhm.
I know disadvantages actually, so I will speak about them.
Okay,
First of all, they're noisy and they spread some vibration which can have like negative health effect on the people if they live around the stations.
hmm
Well, they are pretty expensive as most of the mm, sources of how is it how to say it storable energy, right? And like you don't only need these stations, you also stations, but you also need where to store the energy which is produced with the stations. And then maybe if it's not a windy day, you use this storage of energy to power the buildings around.
I think
hmm
that the most important thing is the cost. I think it would be very expensive because we have very vast territory, but we do not have enough services, and that is why
yes,
we need great investments into these projects.
Hmm.
Mm,
okay. And for from biologists, what's the most disadvantageous thing in the wind
This
power?
is
How do you?
actually the one I didn't know about, that this prevents migration of birds. Like, this is a new information for me. Thank you.
yes, I also didn't know about it. So it's a big disadvantage actually. But why? They cannot fly?
So
Не попадают
on
в
the
волну?
example of Netherlands, they produce a lot of very much wind power station. So on the slide down, you can see the my photos from Netherlands from airplane. You can see the all fields covered with the row of wind power. And the scientists of Netherlands said about some problem with birds
Mhm.
migration because they can change bird migration sometimes, and lots of birds died with how to say столкновение with these
Collapse.
laws with the power
Okay,
equipment.
Wings
interesting.
of station.
Yes, and even when, for example, sportsmen, yeah, they do sport like how to say trampoline. I don't know how it's in English, but even then they need to have a special wind direction, yes, like to do it successfully. Otherwise, they cannot fly with the help of their skis, yes. So, and I think the same thing with birds.
Yeah, it influences on navigation, birds'
Yeah.
navigation, I think.
Mhm.
And moreover, maybe some vibration influences them, reflected on their uh, uh, way of like.
Okay. Okay.
Eleonora, it's navigation, I think. You see, it influences on navigation.
Okay.
Oh, stop, stop, stop. How about languages? Stop, stop.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
How about
Uh,
what?
so we discussed disadvantages of wind power station, but how about advantages?
About maybe cost effective, like wind energy is free, and first of all, it's ecologically friendly energy system, and also it's very clean, like clean and environmentally friendly fuel source.
Okay,
Um,
But
ecologically
at the
friendly,
same time,
without waste, without waste.
but at the
exactly.
same time, it's written here it doesn't require water consumption or it is not limited. I agree, but it affects water reduction, I think, and some how to say, um, like wearing this land and soil out. And therefore, I think lots of wind is also bad for agriculture. And like this is a big disadvantage in my opinion.
Mm. But some scientists produce new construction of wind power station, which can use a very how to say it, little wind and produce the same amount of energy.
Hmm.
So there are some equipment who can produce power without strong wind. It's a usual very low wind.
Hmm. Okay, now we know.
And not
So,
so much places for accommodations. So
mhm,
if you look on the photos, you can see there's some row power station accommodate along the roads in the field on hill. And I saw the example near the seashore of Netherlands. They build some power station in the sea. In
mhm.
the sea.
Okay, interesting.
It's
So
because the territory is very, very small. As for
yes.
Kazakhstan, the main advantage is our land, our territory and steppe.
Yeah. At the same time, it's a big disadvantage because people don't care like this large territory.
Okay.
Mhm.
So next slide about solar station. Sun power station and solar. Okay. On this slide, I suggest only one advantages and one disadvantages. Let's discuss and note other advantages as disadvantages of solar energy and sun stations.
One
Okay.
big disadvantage, in my opinion, because I have a garden, yes, and I understand when sun is shining brightly every day, we need to water our garden and we use lots of water, and this is the big disadvantage. And I love rainy days because in Karaganda it's really hard to breathe when we have lots
Mhm.
of sun. So therefore, for me, sun here in Karaganda is not a disadvantage itself, but a lot of sun is a disadvantage.
I think advantage of sun power station is you can place solar panels everywhere on the roofs of the buildings, for example, in the cities. If you are in rural place, you can install these panels on the land, you see, so it's an advantage. The disadvantage is solar panels are very expensive, and
Mm-hmm.
we do not produce in Kazakhstan. That is why we need to bring them from other countries, and it would be expensive.
Yeah, and
I
also we
I think what the power nuclear power mm, renewable sources necessary big territory. It is disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
One
The
of
wind,
the, I'm sorry.
the window and sun um, needs big territory, big area. Maybe it's impossible. It is disadvantage.
Oh, you contradict me. It's very interesting. I say it saves. It saves the place. You said that we need a lot of place. Okay, why not?
Mhm. And solar can
It
be
is
very expensive.
territory. It is private.
The roofs of buildings. You see, why not?
I
We
think
can.
our strong wind will blow it. Will blow them.
Ah,
I think one of the advantages as well that some power station or some solar batteries can accumulate energy power and they may be used at any time, any proper time we need this energy.
Yeah, but as a
Mm-hmm.
disadvantage, I think it's an expensive technology, especially if we produce the solar panels that can accumulate, yes, lots of this energy. And I think as a business, for example, there will be like this. So this solar panel is not so expensive because it doesn't accumulate lots of energy. But this is more expensive because it can accumulate more energy and so on and so forth. And this is a disadvantage. I think it's expensive.
Mm-hmm. One more opinions?
Maybe you will add.
So solar power maybe can be used like a heat power actually. So what else? It power homes and building, even power cars. But as it did disadvantages, like it is as like a disadvantage. Um, Solar power at night, like it doesn't work. Actually, maybe we need to use some large battery bank for.
And it's expensive, as I said.
Mhm.
Or for example,
It's
we
very
need to
expensive
combine
actually.
alternative and how to say traditional sources of energy as we did, for example, as we do every winter because we have gas and we have coal. And when it's really cold, we have coal and we heat our house with the help of coal. And when
Yeah.
it's not cold, we can use gas.
Mhm. It's like
So,
traditional.
okay,
Yeah.
let's make this some conclusion. Advantages of a solar power station. That sun is not limited sources of energy. So
They can be
we
placed solar panels everywhere.
everywhere on the building, in the field, on the car and other. So we can use the battery for accumulation of energy. So and the sun energy is eco-friendly,
Mm-hmm.
but in the solar stations there are a lot of disadvantages. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes produce of an energy depending on the weather time of days.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, uh, for the sun station, it's possible to build and need much territories for the wind energy. So 2 days ago, I was in Saran and
Mm-hmm.
looked on the sun power station. It's a very very big territory
Mm-hmm.
uh, with these panels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can also some problem that you need clean the panels from dust and snow, for example. It's a big problem,
Mm-hmm.
and it's much expensive.
Yes, it's expensive.
Expensive cost for panels and for battery for accumulation of energy.
And then not only like for supporting them. Yeah, I think support is always much more expensive than installation and even development. So like after that, and lots of IT companies, they develop the product, but their biggest profit comes from supporting these products. And I think the same with these solar panels. They need support, they need cleaning from dust, they need like their battery change, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So thank you
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Is it
for
all?
your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita Yulavna.
Thank
Well,
you.
I learned a lot of interesting things.
Especially about birds, you know.
Yeah, also it's new information for me.
Yes, it was interesting.